Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you. And I'm going to talk about the revolution, the 25th of April revolution in Portugal. You will see why we are so proud of it, because really it was a very different type of revolution, a military coup d'etat was completely different from what was common at those times, and special at those times, because usually the military coup were just to take the power and have a military colonel or general ruling the country. That was not our case. It was exactly the opposite. I will cover this period of time. I will speak from, as Professor Diniz said, there was a dictatorship in Portugal that starting basically in 1933, although the military dictatorship was a little bit early, that ruled Portugal till 25th of April of 1974. And so I will explain why we overthrow this ruler, and why we made this military coup. And then I will just explain a little bit of what changed in Portugal afterwards. So, Estado Novo, new state, was really a regime that ruled Portugal for this time. As I said, in May 28th of 1926, there was a military coup that established a ditadura militar, military dictatorship, and afterwards Salazar, this guy here, was able to took power and through a constitution that was approved in 1933, they established at that time was a fascist type of regime, because as you know, or as you may know, in Europe at that time was very common this kind of regimes in Spain, in Germany, and so on, in Italy, and so Portugal also has this type of regime. And this regime ruled the country till 1974. This is the constitution, etc. What characterized this regime? First of all, very poor living condition of the people. So there were the rulers, there were companies that ruled the country, but the majority of the people lived in a very bad condition. And this is exactly the reason why so many people, so many Portuguese people immigrated to other countries. So this is what we see. You see here is maybe it's Portuguese people embarking in a train probably to France, because it was but it was a common view, either on trains, on ships. Was the common view was people immigrating, because the idea of the regime was to tell that to be poor was happiness. They try to convince the people that live in poor condition, This is a picture from my book in the 3rd grade. This is a picture from the 3rd grade. And this is the lesson of Salazar. Salazar was the dictator. And the lesson was exactly that God, motherland, the family are the main pillars of the regime, and of the regime, and everything was, if the people was able to live like this, they will be very happy people. Of course, they were not happy, and between 1.5 to 2 million Portuguese from a country that at that time was around 8 million, 9 million people, immigrated to Europe and America. Here you will find the Portuguese people here, you find them in France, you find them in Germany, all over the world. This was good for the regime because, first of all, they ease the tension, the social tensions in Portugal. And they received the money that the immigrants sent back to Portugal, just to build a home or something, or a house, and to the family, help the family. And that's the way. Financial was very good for the government, for the people, was not, for sure, not good. I will leave this presentation, and then maybe if you want to work with it, you can use this. And there are some notes also on the slides that you can use later on. These two pictures are a very good image of the situation of the Portuguese people. This photographer, Gérald Blancourt, who was a French reporter, he made this picture in Paris, in the slums, in the very poor country. Binouville was the places where the Portuguese people live around Paris. About was about 1 million people just in France, living in very poor condition. He made this picture. This is a Portuguese family, the girls, the mother, and so on. And later on, he came to Lisbon in '66, and he made the same picture around Lisbon. You see, you can compare. That was the water. The children had to go to take the water from the because there was no como é que se diz, água canalizada.
There was no any kind of in-home plumbing at all.
Yes. Yes. And so you see, this was the condition that the Portuguese people lived at that time. Okay, as I said, the immigration is the social tension, but there are people that were not happy, and so the way the regime used to solve the problem was to repression, political police, prisons, and repression. Informers that if someone tells something about the government or against the government, he was going to prison because someone went to the police and denounced. So we have what we call the Polícia Política de Defesa do Estado, PID. It was a political police. There was the normal, regular police. But this one was special just for political matters. When Salazar died and was replaced by the Marcel Caetano was the guy that replaced Salazar, but was as dictator as Salazar was. He changed the name, as he changed the names of lots of things. He changed to Direção-Geral de Segurança, but it was exactly the same, was a military police. A very bad military police that used. This was the headquarters in Lisbon. We'll see later on our Marines taking over this building. We had in Lisbon a prison. Aljube is very well known, this prison, and Caxias outside of Lisbon. And also another one was an old fortress that was transformed in a political police. This part of the building is exactly the prison, political prison. And then one in Tarrafal, Cabo Verde, one of our colonies. Censorship. The people could not express their ideas. They could not publish what they want. They could not write. This is, for example, a very simple poem of poet Manuel da Fonseca. Is a very, very well-known Portuguese poet that wrote this poem about a small village. Okay, there are some message here, but it's very, very covered, so it's not. But even there, although it was very subtle, the censorship did not like and just forbidden the publication of this poem. Was forbidden till 1974. It was only published after the revolution. Lots of music, songs. This is from a radio station. All the songs that could not be broadcast by the radio, and that was enforced by police agents inside the radio station. There was guys in the radio station that they took care of that nothing of this was broadcasted. Things so simple as marriage of teacher, lady teacher, could not marry. They have to request permission to the Minister of the Education, National Education, and there was condition to be allowed to marry. So the women in Portugal were considered second or third class people is the way, and the teacher, even the teachers, they were subjected to things so stupid like this. But this was the reality in Portugal. Even myself, I married in 73, just to give you an idea of what was our society. I married in 73, February of 73. And as I was a Navy officer, I had to go. My wife has to go to the local authority and get a certificate that she behaved well. So had bom comportamento moral. The number is moral, bom comportamento moral. So there was an authority, a local authority, that has certified that my wife has a very good moral behavior. Moral character. So you see what is the type of regime that we were living at that time. So those are just small details that I give to you just for you to understand the context, because even my grandchildren, for them is very difficult to understand how this was possible. But this was possible for years and years. This was the situation in Portugal. And finally, there was a war in Africa, and Portugal maintained a war in Africa. Why was the war? After World War, most of the European countries that had colonies, even Spain, France, England, Italy, they just allow independence for their colonies. It's why Mexico is independent and so on and all this. But anyway, but in Africa, especially in Africa, they allow independence for their colonies. And only one country did not allow independence of their colonies, was Portugal. We had colonies Angola, Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau, Cabo Verde, that were not allowed to be independent. And those were the colonies in Portugal, because the message of the government is to say that all those colonies, Portugal is this one, is small piece of land, and those were the colonies. This is again a map that was given to us little kids to show that Portugal was a big country, because if we put all together, on top of the Europe map, Portugal is the same as Europe. And so you see the kind of mindset of this regime that was convinced that colonies like Mozambique or Angola could be compared to to Portugal. Just to show you how this was stupid, in 1960, when this was the census of 1960, this was exactly when I came to Portugal to live to learn, because I was born in Mozambique. But Mozambique, where I was born and where I made my elementary school, the first 4 years of education was in Mozambique. The population, the total population was about 6.6 million people. Whites, so basically Portuguese, so there was some other nationalities, but whites were mostly Portuguese. You see the number? This was the number of white people over there. If you look at the black, 6.4. So you can, most of them, they didn't know Portuguese. They were not. They didn't know nothing about the Portuguese culture. So that was the situation of the colony that was considered to be Portugal. It was a country like this with 6.5 million people that Portugal didn't mean nothing to them. Even to me, although my grandparents were in Portugal, even to me, Portugal was something so distant. In the school I had to study the rivers, railways, all the names, and that was so distant, that so far away, that for even to me, that I was white, I had a different type of education, but even to me it was a very strange thing. For my friends, my black colleagues, it was really a nonsense for them. For those that were to school, because most of them they didn't go to school for sure. So this situation led to a war that started in 1961 in Angola, because the liberation movements that want the independence of their people start a war in 1961, and this war lasted from them till 1974. This is the type of propaganda telling people Angola is ours, and supported this. They send soldiers, thousands of soldiers to Africa just to fight the liberation movements in Angola. So there was a war that was the spread first to Guinea, and then to Mozambique. There was also some São Tomé was a small, and Cabo Verde, small islands where there was some problems also. And the numbers of this war are there. You see, Portugal was a small country, and with 10 million people, 9 million people. And we maintain permanently in Africa, fighting a war, around 150 men permanently. So this was only possible sending the people. Draft, there was serviço militar obrigatório, was the draft. They were forced to go to fight in Angola. More or less the same as happened in Vietnam with the United States. So this is the numbers of troops, Portuguese troops that were permanently in Africa. The guerrillas, they also had their people fighting, and During the 13 years, almost 9,000 men were killed in war in Africa. And about 15,000 were wounded, both physical and psychological, because there are very, very important traumas of the people that were they used to spend 2 years in war. The military service was 4 years for every man. When arrived to 20 years old, he had to go to the military service. They served for 4 years. They were forced to serve, and two of those 4 years were in war in one of the colonies in Africa. That was the future for the Portuguese generation at that time. Of course, there was some opposition. There was people that tried to avoid to change things. The most important was maybe this general. He was a general, Humberto Delgado. He was a general that somehow he understood that could not be possible, and he tried to run for president of the Republic in 1968. Of course, he lost the election because they were fake elections. And later on he was killed. He was assassinated in Spain. The PID, the political police, sent some agents over there and they killed him. There was also, when Salazar was replaced by this other dictator, was Marcelo Caetano, he tried to convince the people that there would be an election, free elections in 1969. But again, they were fake elections because the opposition could not form their own parties. So, and they could only make propaganda during 1 month. So a very short period of time that they appeared, and usually they use this kind of election to know who was in an opposition, because after the election there was a wave of prisons. Of the people that ran against the government. So this election, I was already very well involved. I was not in the Navy. I joined the Navy 1 year after this election. But for me, it was a very good school because I was involved in this election and I saw how the things work. So I got the conscience of what was going wrong in my country, because initially, I didn't know. In high school boy, I had no idea of what was going wrong in my country. So I joined the Navy in 1970, and I said, and in 1973 there was a Congress of Opposição Democrática in Aveiro, a democratic opposition, where there are lots of people that were there as observers. Even military people were there, military officers, young officers went there to see what's really a democracy, what is a political party that wants democracy. And okay, this is the police, the PID was, they repressed the people on this, but this was the seed, let's say, the seed for everything that comes afterwards. So, and comes on 25th of April, where we end up with this Estado Novo. So we end up with a regime that was initially by Salazar from 33 to 68, and from 68 to 74, Marcelo Caetano. And who did that? Who overthrew this regime? Movimento das Forças Armadas. That's what I'm going to tell you. What is this? What the hell is this that just in a country appear, and in more or less 9 months, what is really the time of just a baby. The baby was born more or less in 9 months, is from July 73 to 25th April, was able to organize themselves to plan a military operation to overthrow a regime. This was not from one day, so the military coup was not just from one day to another, so it was a preparation, there was meetings, initially was just an army process, because they were, the situation for them, the army was worse than for the other branches, because they were in the jungles in Africa, and for them the war is very difficult. So it was really something against the war, because we understood, or they understood them at that time, the army captains, they understand that situation could go forever. Some of them, with 26 years old, 27 years old, has already done two periods of 2 years in a war in Africa. So they were tired of that situation. And so there was some meetings, and then there was meetings through the rest of 73. And basically on those are places were the main meetings. What were those meetings? Meetings were of military officers, initially just army, but then Navy officers and Navy lieutenants start to join the meetings. Meetings were 20, 40 people, 60 people meet in a room, in a house, mostly in houses, restaurants, and so on, representing each one representing 10 or 12 or 20 people, and deciding what we'll do next, discussing possibilities and voting for taking decision based on democratic voting on those meetings, so in São Pedro do Estoril in November was what we used to say that was the start of the political phase, where we start talking about changing the government. Then there was in Cascais already in March of 74, so one month and a half before the military operation, we decide we approved the document where all the objectives of this movement were specified, and said that, yeah, I will show you what were those objectives. And in 24th of March, there was a meeting in Oeiras, very close to my home, where we decide that we'll do a military coup between 22 and 24th of April, and actually very close to the date, we decide to be on the 25th of April. That's why the date appears, it's exactly decided on this meeting. I just show you, this is an agenda written by an army captain of a meeting. This was a meeting in São Pedro do Estoril, and this meeting we decide, in this meeting there were already Navy officers participating in the meeting. We were around 40 people on that meeting, and this meeting we decide the agenda for the next one. And if you look at this agenda, it's the real document, manuscript by the guy that was in the meeting. The first option was conquista do poder, conquer of the power, para com uma junta militar, with a military junta, create in the country conditions that will allow through national expression and written here, democratization. So this is a military guy, a captain, that in November 73 was already writing down democracy. That was the main goal. There was some other options, and in the next meeting in Óbidos, this was voted, and this in Óbidos, we did not choose yet this one, because there are still people that was convinced that it would be possible to speak with the government and try to change things. Later on, we went to this first option, and that's why we made the military coup. As any movement, there were leaders. This guy on top, Melantunes, was a very clever guy, army officer, that was the main. He was responsible for the writing of the political program. I will tell you what was this program. We also choose Hotel Saraiva de Carvalho to be the commander of the operation. So he wrote down the operational plan, and this Garcia dos Santos is the only one that is alive today, because all the other two are dead. Garcia dos Santos, they made the communication plan, because we were going to do a military operation using military personnel, using military radios, using military equipment. So we had to use something or to communicate among us that could not be listened by the government, by our enemy. And so this was very important, what this guy did, because we had a very good detailed plan that we were able to communicate among ourselves. We were able to listen what they were communicating between them, but they didn't know what we were communicating among us.
How did they do it?
I will tell you. Actually, I don't used to show, but for today I said no. I said to Professor Borges, okay, I will show you. I will show one thing very important that was crucial on this process. 2 days before. This was the first military operation of 25th of April, although was executed 2 days before. During 2 nights, a group of soldiers, led by a captain and with a Furiel, they passed a telephone line from a army installation throughout Lisbon. This is this is Estado do Benfica Stadium, and they passed during the night line through the city on the streets to the place where we will install our posto de comando, our operation center. And through this line, we are able to listen to all their conversation. And that's why we knew very well what they were doing. This was done using this line. And during the operation, we have because the idea was to bring military units from all over the country to Lisbon. So the idea of concentrate our units, our captains, our soldiers in Lisbon in order to take over the government that were in Lisbon. The old operation, there was an operation center, that was the house that I saw in the map, that I showed you in the map, was more or less a room like this. Was just a room like a wait table. We install everything on that room the day before, on the 24th, they were installing. also the telephones with that telephone line, and those are the guys that were leading. Those picture was taken in on the 25th anniversary of the revolution, so they were much younger at that time, as you may imagine. 5 were from the army, 1 guy was from the Navy. The Navy guy was this guy. And this is Hotel, was the commander of the operation. And from here, they receive information not by radio. They receive information from the some officers and captains, mostly captains in civilian clothes, that were with as well as the troops approached Lisbon according to the operation plan. There was no communication to the command. The communication was done by those military officers that were with the troops and went to the public booths, to the public telephones, and just called the operation center, say, we are here, we took already this and this objective, and so on. So everything was done, let's say, silent. And we were at the same time they were listing whatever the government was going to do or was doing. The operation plan is a long document with lots of information, but this is the last page is a very important. Confirmação do início das operações. So, confirmation of the beginning of the operation, a military operation. And so they define the date of the operation, 3 o'clock in the morning of 25th of April. There was a senha e contrassenha, coragem pela vitória. So when we were in the streets and the troops, with our troops, we just say coragem, and they answer pela vitória, and that's the way we could cross the lines of our soldiers during the operation. And the signal was, again, could not be by military radio, so was by the public radio broadcast. Normal broadcast, two signs. I will show you the signs afterwards, but were just two signals that using public broadcast in order to everyone knows that that we had to start the operation as planned. The first one was supposed to be still on the 24th of April at 22:55. This was on the operational plan. And the broadcaster, they had to just read the text that was given to him by Emperor. Actually, in this case, he knew what he was doing. So he had to read this, and those are the keywords. Faltam 5 minutos para as 23 horas. That was the signal that faltam 5 minutos para as 23 horas, and then he announced a song. This song, as when radio festival at that time, so was a very common song in the radio. So that was nothing special, just to broadcast this song. And this is what was heard at that night. This is the real song. You see, it was a very small. Normal talk. This is. Here it is. Okay, this is, when we heard this, we knew that we had to do whatever was supposed to be done. Each one has his mission, his tasks. So, second signal, because this broadcast was just in Lisbon, the Lisbon area. So only people in the Lisbon area, not even not everybody in the Lisbon area was able to listen this signal, and so we had to transmit a second signal in a radio station that could be listened in the rest of Portugal. And so we choose a radio station of the church. So there was no way to think that the church could be involved in something against the government. So we choose and we were able to broadcast this. The guy that read the senha did not know what he was doing. He was just doing a normal program. Someone gave him a text to read and music to broadcast. And it was exactly one poem of one of the musics of José Afonso. José Afonso was a very unpopular for the regime singer, so most of their songs were forbidden, but not one, which was Grândola Vila Morena. It was chosen to be the one to be broadcast, and between midnight and 1 o'clock in the morning, it was broadcast at 0:20, but we could not know exactly the hour because it depends on the guy that was broadcasting the program, and this was what was listened at that night. Isto aqui funciona para a gente aqui. Okay, this was the signal, and then the music. This is the music. This song became, as you may imagine, after the success, became it's basically the song of the revolution, this Grândola Vila Morena. So, all the troops, they heard those signals, they start moving to Lisbon, taking over military objectives, because the RTP, the television, there was only one public television, public television. They took over the radios, the banks, the ministries, and so on. And when everything was taken over, through those calls by phone booths and from all over the place, meanwhile we had already occupied one of the radio stations, one of the private radio stations in Lisbon, another radio station, Radio Clube Português, and it was supposed that when we were in place, so all our troops were in place, we will broadcast the first comunicado, telling the people what's going on. And now what I'm going to show to play here is exactly what was heard on that night. Is saying what?
Only the Portuguese would have a revolution with the first communicate with the birds,
with the song.
The bird song, if you've never heard of it. This is a well-known song for those of you.
Yeah, that time.
Students as well. It's
was very popular at that time.
And that's the song that was playing before they announced that there was a revolution going on.
The chicken dance?
It's good.
Is that the chicken dance?
Chicken?
The chicken dance.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the broadcast was interrupted, and the guy, that guy over there. We are asking the people to stay at home. Militarized the police, the Guarda Nacional, the forces of the government. Okay, but so we now also ask the doctors and nurses to go to the hospitals and so on, because we were afraid that could have blood on. Okay. So again, Lisbon was taken over by our troops. Airport, the airport, RTP. Radio Club Português, that was from where was broadcast that comunicado, and then the downtown Lisbon, and from now on I'm going to show you a collection of pictures. There are lots of pictures of that morning in Lisbon, and the reason why there is so many pictures is that two reporters who were by accident, they were in downtown Lisbon, and they start taking pictures. As you may imagine, there was no smartphones, there were nothing like that, but they were taking pictures hidden, because they didn't know if it was possible or not. And they took pictures from the soldiers taking position in downtown Lisbon, and the guy that was commanding this man was a Captain Salgueiro Maia, saw the two reporters taking pictures and said, "Why are you hidden? Why were not on open and taking pictures?" "Oh, we were afraid that..." No, you can take whatever pictures you want, because we are doing this exactly for you to take whatever picture you want to take. And so this was the first signal that was to freedom and not repression. So they took very, very good pictures. One of the pictures that is impressive is this one, because this frigate was sent to come in front of downtown Lisbon and fire against the troops of the army, the movement. They could not do, because in this ship there was 3 officers of the movement, so they did not allow any type of action against tropas do movimento, and so. But it was a moment of tension. It was in the beginning of about 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning. It was a moment of tension. This is the guy, the one that I said told the reporters that they could take whatever pictures they want. Salgueiro Maia, you see, as you may imagine, he was not an old guy. He was a captain, 26 or something like that. He's already dead. Unfortunately, he died with a cancer, but he was the troop. That you see, this was his deputy. Was that was always with him. In all the pictures, we see this guy with Salgueiro Maia. Here, those officers in civilian clothes that were with the troops, and they communicate with the posto de comando. Actually, when they finish and were in position, it just took again for. We never know if we need it. and then start appearing from one of the sides of the plaza. This was in the main plaza downtown Lisbon. From one of the sides start to appear the tanks, the very powerful, much powerful than ours, from the government, supporting the government. And Salgueiro Maia start in this action, in this situation, start talking with them, going back and forth, negotiating with them, telling that, okay, you should not do nothing against us. And this force was commanded by a brigadier, and the brigadier ordered the guy on the tank to fire against the troops of Salgueiro Maia. And the guy that was on this tank just went down, closed the door, and said, "I will not come out, and I will not fire." So was the way, and so they understood that was almost impossible to go against us. And they begin to surrender. This is a lieutenant colonel from the government's troops that surrender himself, and this is our troops from our side. This guy is on civilian clothes. You see one of those civilian. Again, here he comes. Those are the arms that were supposed to support the government. So already pointed out to the river. So is a sign of the no violence from them. And maybe at this moment, this was around 9:30. Our soldiers start to understand that we had won, because when all the other side was surrendering, so we had won. Here it is, Salgueiro Maia is nervous, but anyway, you see that people start to be happy. Meanwhile, as you remember, we said the population not to go to the street, but they came. Some of them, they didn't listen, the communicate, so they came to, and so the downtown Lisbon start to be full of civilian people around all those troops, and this troop, this is what was changed all the game. Because we had troops, military troops, but we had very close civilian people, close to the soldier, talking with the soldier, asking them what's going on, and special supporting them. So that was what was just a military coup start to be a revolution from this moment on. You see that this is not just picture. This I like very much. This couple of you see, looking. It's very Portuguese, very curious. They are just looking at what's going on, and so all these soldiers, and they were this couple, and here the soldier were taking over, was controlling the banks. A guy trying to understand, looking. Very curious. What is this? And start talking with the soldiers. And you see the number of people that start to join, to be very, very close to the troops. Even kids in the street. So. doesn't look a military coup as you may imagine when we look to this picture, but that was the feeling in the air, and the feeling was in the direction of instead of a party, they become instead of a military operation, become a party with all that people involved in this. So the whole our picture. The signal of victory over there. So it was very early. The government has not yet surrendered at this moment. So, but the people were already convinced that everything was decided, and they start to take over the. You remember the guy that I show you with Salgueiro Maia is now here in this tank, and the people trying to go, and they did. They just took over the military equipment, and that was just show the sound of the streets at that time. Vitória. This is a reporter, radio reporter that took this.
É pelo menos essa primeira conclusão que nós podemos tirar. Mesmo que as pessoas tenham as mesmas dúvidas que nós em relação ao evoluir deste movimento, há pelo menos uma coisa que elas estão a dizer muito claramente: é que foi uma vitória sobre o regime que houve.
It was a victory over the regime.
Incontestável, uma questão muito clara de não adesão ao regime que durante 40 anos dominou este país.
Nobody supported the regime. The regime just fall down. Já estamos um bocado atrasados, não, Diniz? Again, 10? Okay. You see the hundreds, thousands of people in the streets. You see, those are all pictures that tells a lot. So here are the shoulders taking control of all this people that want to be involved on this movement. This actually was very close to taken in the place where the Marcel Caetano was. He was inside the building in nearby. So we were waiting at that time for his surrender. Here is Salgueiro Maia talking to the people, and at 7:30 in the morning, in the afternoon, Marcel Caetano surrendered, and Captain Salgueiro Maia, supported by an immense crowd, controlled the tension generated by popular impatience. So the troops of Salgueiro Maia was controlling people rather than fighting against about the forces of the government. At 1:30 already the next day, we present the National Salvation Junta. Remember on the agenda in the meeting in São Pedro Estoril to have a military junta. Here it is. Those are the guys, all generals, all generals of the army. Not for the navy. They were not admirals. They were commanders. One was a commander, another was a captain. And so, still at that time, the military police the political police did not surrender. So we had to send the Marines to take over the building where the political police headquarters. Those are the Marines that were sent to them. As you see, they were very well armed. This is exactly the place, the headquarters of the police, Direção-Geral de Segurança. This was the political police. They were commanded by a guy, you see, a very low rank. Everybody that were involved were very low ranks. So we have Marines, and then over there we have sailors. So again, Marines. The population start to support us, give water, food, cigarettes, and so on. You see a lady giving wine, probably that's wine, I don't know what she's offering the soldier. And this is already inside the political police. You see the kind of armament that the political police, they were in their headquarters. Here it is a sailor with all the those were the dictators, Salazar, and Salazar was still in the walls of the headquarters. Afterward, we send soldiers to Peniche to free the political prisoners that were in Peniche. At that time was around 50 guys over there in prison in Peniche. So this was still outside the population of Peniche. Peniche is a village, a fisherman's village around 100 kilometers on north of Lisbon, in the coast. You see, it's a very characteristic fishermen, women of that region. So this was these pictures from Peniche, and once we won, our program, our Armed Forces Movement Program went into force. This was the document that was approved before in one of those meetings. We approved this document. This is exactly what we want. And the idea of our main goals was to give the power to a civilian government. We didn't want the power. We didn't want the government. We want to give the power to a civilian government. We want a political solution for the war, and we wanted political democracy for Portugal. So freedom for the people. Those are our program. Those are our goals, and this is what, and we fight for it for afterwards. So the movement, let's say. So we democratized. First of all, we just abolished the political police. Those are pictures of the political police. Freedom of press. This was the first newspaper that came out without, não foi visado por qualquer comissão de censura. So came without any censorship. This was the first free newspapers, let's say. Of course, they were just saying that armed force, they took the power. Those are already pictures. You see, this is a picture of the negotiation in downtown. You see, there's a picture. Here is a guy in the middle of the forces. Probably it's Sogermeier that is there. I don't know. So we removed the president of the republic and the members of the government. They were sent initially to Madeira and then to Brazil. Sorry, we sent the guys to Brazil. Extension of the political police, abolition of censorship, freedom for all political parties, return of all the political expatriates, replacement of the senior leaders of the central and local governments. All the leaders were replaced, and authorization for the formation of political parties and free labor unions, because the labor unions were forbidden in Portugal.
So you send them to Brazil because at that time in Brazil there was a dictatorship as well. So
Yeah. That's why they choose. It's why they choose Brazil. One year after, we organized elections for the Constitutional Assembly to write down a constitution, a new democratic and free constitution. They were the first free election for years in Portugal. Imagine the enthusiasm of the people participating in the elections. This is pictures from that day, long lines and so on, but the people was happy, so was something new for them. 2 years after the 25th, we approved the Constitutional Assembly approved the new constitution that is our constitution till now. There was some changes but the basic ideas, the basic concepts are of this constitution of 76, so 2 years after the military coup. We decolonized, we gave independence to the colonies. Those are the new countries. Unfortunately, that was not an easy process, and lots of people suffered because they had to run away from the colonies. But anyway, that was almost impossible to control the situation because we had 13 years of war before, so it was difficult to control things. So we developed. Portugal has nothing to do with nowadays. Portugal has nothing to do with the country that was 50 years ago, in all aspects, economical, financial, social, and so on. For those of you that know Portugal, know that nowadays Portugal is a European country, has full pledge. So we are part of the European Union. We have an euro as a currency, and okay, we have really our indicators, so say. And first of all, we have something that we don't consider as granted, but we have liberty, we have freedom. This is what I used to say to the students, liberdade, that is and I tell them, please protect this because it's pressure and it's not granted, so you can lose it very easily because we lost it a long time ago. We lost this freedom. This is true for all countries, not only for Portugal. So we have freedom of press, freedom of education, freedom of expression, freedom of meeting, association, political freedom. Now I like to show, because this is my youngest grandchildren, Miguel. So he is. What I did was exactly for him and for all of my grandchildren. But this is whatever I did and all my cameras did was exactly thinking on his future, because he is the future. So, thank you very much. Okay.